The Department of Health Services has released 2 new reports on infant deaths in the state, while continuing to shed light on how to best reduce and address significant disparities on the issue. The data show troubling disparities, with non-Hispanic black infants are 3 times more likely to die before their first birthdays than non-Hispanic white infants. During those same years, the infant mortality rate for American Indian or Alaska Native infants was 1.5 times the rate for non-Hispanic white infants. And overall, the COVID-19 pandemic only made these matters worse.
Even if there is still one baby that dies and doesn't survive, when we talk about infant mortality, it is more than just statistics. These are real lives and real families. So one life gone is too many.
She adds 2 areas to focus on are prevention and raising awareness about the issue that predominantly affects women of color.